Yay, recording is happening. Hello! Welcome back. Oh my god, it's episode 20. We're 20 years old.
20.
We're in college. We made it to college. Well, middle of college. Middle of university. I was done.
We've made two decologies.
We've made two decologies. Excellent. I am Christopher Morrison, as always, and that is...
Dominic.
That's Dominic, and we are elevating the genre. We're here to talk about all things that make smart, geeky stuff smart and mostly geeky. Man, and today we're going to talk about, I'd say one of the more geekiest subjects that we've ever thrown out on the old table. We're going to talk...
It's going to be very geeky.
Space battles. I just realized we could have been... I didn't even think about this, but I'm assuming we're talking about space battles only on, like, film and television. Is that right? Because I guess we could talk...
Opposed to in books?
Books, yeah, books or comic books.
Or in tabletop gaming, which we could be doing.
Yes, we could talk about that kind of thing, too. But no, I think I meant to think only... I only thought about it in terms of film and TV until literally this second. So I'm assuming that's what we're doing. All right, awesome.
No, me as well. I mean, we can drop a little other tabletop gaming or other genres in there, sir. But I'm not worthy for those areas. I'm mainly worthy in the movies, TV area. But.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love me some tabletop gaming. I'm not a big tabletop strategy gamer, which I would think all of the space battle-y ones probably are. A bit more strategy type of thing. I suck at those games. I don't have patience. I just go blow things up when I'm bored. I'm just like, all right, I'm bored now. I attack you. And they're like, that's the dumbest thing you can do right now. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm bored. So there you go.
Right.
So I lose those games.
That always sets in. It's like gambling.
That's right.
I'd like to play by my set strategy, but
and that's a whole nother podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, it is. Okay, sorry, a little non sequitur today.
No, that's fine.
It's because of the headphones.
It is because of the awesome headphones now. So we'll start off with our regular opening segment, what's elevating our genre, where we talk about what we think is smart and cool out in the old geeky universe. I never remember who goes first. Dom, you want to throw down? What do you got?
Okay, well, elevating my genre this week is I started watching Sherlock season 4. Are you a Sherlock person at all?
I am. I like the Sherlock.
Yeah, you have a thoughtful expression on your face. Like, is there something bad about Sherlock season 4 in your opinion?
No, there's lots to talk about Sherlock season 4 if and when you get through it. And if we want to throw down a little Sherlocky episode at some point, we should do that.
Have to have a Sherlocky episode.
Yeah, let me say, I'm a complete sucker for Victoriana. Not to an insane degree, but I do like the original Sherlock Holmes stories. I've read a bunch of them and kind of entered this universe when I was a kid by the Sherlock Holmes radio dramas, which I quite dug, starring Mr. Basil Rathbone. Yeah. So anyway, and then, I quite dig the update. Yeah.
To the point which the BBC actually has a show now called Victoria. That's just, I think they're really milking it. Have you seen it? It's in their slate of shows. I guess it's about Queen Victoria, which is kind of
I would assume
adventurous, spunky teen. Anyway, my only thing about, I haven't watched all of season 4 yet, and truthfully, when I watched that first episode, I was a little bit stoned. So
that's not a good one to be stoned to, because they do some new weird visual shit in this season.
They did tons. That's the reason I brought it up. It was so fucking crazy, because I've watched enough Sherlock to know what their basic wheelhouse is, and then all this other shit starts happening.
Yeah,
they threw a funky sort of Mission Impossible battle in there.
Yeah,
they have that whole thing with the dog. And then when I couldn't avoid, again in my slightly altered state, I was like, wait, there's this whole story with this shark. Which is, again, a little uncharacteristic in their style.
Yes, definitely.
But cool, great story with the shark. I was like, are they purposely jumping the shark as many times as possible in this episode?
I didn't think about that.
And is that itself a play on the shark metaphor? Because they just introduce a shark, and then they just start jumping over it 10 times in that episode.
That's a good point. I didn't... Mark Gatiss is a smartass. That's for damn sure. Who is one of the co-creators and writers of that show? Stephen Moffat's the other one. Who are both big Doctor Who guys. and they're smart asses for sure. So I totally missed that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and again, clarification: jumping the shark is when the show goes way off its regular course, and some really weird shit happens, coined by that Happy Days episodes, I guess, where
Fonzie jumps over a shark with a motorboat, and also it's also code for like the show is over, like the show is tapped its own source material so much that they have to resort to weird shit, and that means it usually means it's the last season.
And I can't say that I don't have that feeling about Sherlock, but I did feel like they were going when they got into that whole aquarium battle or whatever. Like I thought for sure it was going to be like James Bond is actually going to show up, or whether, a la League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, just like they were just going to throw all the shit out there. It's like, wow. Yeah. But again, I'm gonna watch. Anyway, okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one there.
No, definitely. There's
good, interesting jumping the shark shit in Sherlock season 4, especially the first episode.
There you go, man. Nice. Yeah, definitely. We got to talk after you get to the last episode of that season.
Yeah.
Lots to say about that. Lots of feels for me. So what's elevating my genre? I'm kind of cheating this week because it's something I haven't actually even read yet. For those that have a visual, it's this interesting little piece that we found out, Monstrous. Now I've got it. My wife and I go to the comic book store or the bande dessinée shop, magasin, every so often here in good old Brussels, and we pick up things in English and in French. My wife picked this up in French, so my French is good enough to get through some comics, but this lovely writer, Marjorie Liu, throws down some dense-ass text that I have not even come close to getting through. But I'm excited to try to get through it. I'm also very excited that it's a dual lady team. Marjorie, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Liu, and is the author, and the artist is Sana Takeda, which is cool. And the artwork just looks absolutely stunning. And I love the sort of I have a soft spot for sort of vaguely for fairy tales in general, but when you start making them vaguely Asian as well, I get super excited for weird reasons. So yeah, exactly. So there you go. So Monstrous, and it's I think it's only on issue 11 in the States, so it's still being produced as a monthly right now. So it's also kind of weird that Image is just threw it out over here already, which is really fast. So I don't know if the pipeline's getting faster coming over in French or whatever, but I'm excited to read it, and hopefully maybe somebody else out there can pick it up just because it's damn beautiful. And I'm assuming it's good. I also assume it's good because Marjorie Liu teaches. Are you ready for this? Teaches comic books at MIT. I don't.
Yes, she's hot right now. I've been hot as in comic writers since. I haven't read it, but I've heard a lot about it, and she's an interesting character, definitely. She wrote some X-Men too. She wrote a Karma storyline.
Cool. She wrote a Karma storyline, really? Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
And the preeminent Asian New Mutants.
Yeah,
she focuses on those things a lot. So she's both as the Asian American female person and just sort of hot property in the comic book writer world right now. So she keeps coming up. Yeah. And by the way, you can cheat because it's pretty much written in English before. You don't have to read it in French.
I know.
I'm fairly confident.
I don't have it in. I don't know if I. So finding graphic novels in English in Brussels is actually a bit tricky. The only thing I can guarantee I can find is The Walking Dead, because I have a shop that I know grabs the English version of The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead actually comes out over here in French and English simultaneously. So I can get the new graphic novel in The Walking Dead. Saga I can usually find as well, because that's obviously huge, Mr. Brian K. Vaughan. So I don't even know if I could find a Monstrous in English without going to some Amazon UK bullshit. But no, I'm gonna try to get through this in French. It's a super challenge, and if it's too challenging, then I'll just say fuck it, and I'll be in the States in mid-July, and I'll pick up a bunch of it in English because I'll cheat, because I'm not that.
Sounds like an excellent challenge.
Yes, right now.
I'm sure it gains something in French.
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, so Monstrous, check it out. Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, if you're into that kind of stuff. All right. Speaking of into it, man. let's get into the middle of the space battle. I don't even know how to set this up. I mean, seriously, obviously, it's just, I think what I don't know, what I want to talk about is just like which ones you dig and why you dig them and what makes them cool and what doesn't make them cool. And the only thing I want to throw down first is I had a big realization today when I was watching a bunch. I realized what a debt of just a debt that space battles owe to old dogfighting movies of like the 30s and the 40s, right? Like I realized, because I was trying to think like what is the visual lexicon, what is the visual language that all of these have, and there's certain shots that are sort of obligatory, and I realized, oh right, sort of thinking back through Top Gun and then through some of those movies that I have happened to have seen in the past, it's all straight up dogfighting movies, right? It's just it's a reimagining of a dogfight in space. And a lot of visual lexicon comes from that. So that's my big old historical setup done. What do you want to talk about? Yeah.
Well, it's definitely like a war movie motif. Mm-hmm. And, again, I didn't do hard study on this, but I feel like, we just got to throw it out there. Star Wars did it in a big way, that period, which comes out, 1977. And, I mean, definitely it was, the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah.
X-Wings attacking the Death Star. TIE fighters come out. Definitely was going for something that would blow the shit out of that movie out of the water, just take it to a whole new ending set piece place. And
so what is it about that sequence that does it for you, though? Is there a particular thing? Like, what about it like makes it so good for you? Particularly the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, it's so many things. Okay, so first it's just the beauty of the design, the work that went into making those fighters. Just like, again, totally done better in the first three movies than in the second wave of movies. I mean, just the craftsmanship that went into making those X-Wings and those Y-Wings, like the hero fighters and those weird goblin-like TIE fighters.
Yeah.
And the composition of the battle, just that they had an endpoint. They had to go into a dark tunnel, and shoot at a tiny target. What a beautiful little goal to accomplish. And I guess the third thing is really just how it was transposed from this idea of something we knew happened. Probably, World War II, the defense of England, dogfighting in any actual war. They somehow kept it so that it was it recalled that war motif, that we knew, except they just put it into totally cool, like space, as it were.
Right.
All right. That was the coffee. Okay, we're getting there.
We're working it up. I mean, that's what's interesting, because this is the other thing. The only thing I really hope somebody can tell us this. Like, I was wondering, like, what is the first filmed space battle, right? Like, where, because it doesn't start with Star Wars. It can't, because maybe there must be something in like the old Flash Gordon serials, or maybe in the Rocketeer doesn't go in space. Like the old Flash Gordon serials. There must be something. Like, what's the first like super like spaceships shooting at each other in space? I couldn't figure it out. I didn't find one. So anyway, I just thought that would also be an interesting moment to like see where those ideas came from.
Well, it's possible, if we were to get really nerdy, we might want to make the distinction that space battles up to that point were generally from large battleships. There was definitely
large battleships.
Thing of War of the Worlds. Well, I mean, there was a thing of War of the Worlds, and there was Star Trek, and there were like large carrier ships doing combat. And Empire, whatever. In Star Trek, there are a few, like, the Enterprise fights another big ship, right? It's just the fighters that made it different.
Right, yeah, the individual, that's what I mean, like, the individual dog fighters, right? Like, like, what, which ones, Like, what was the first one that did that? The individual fighter just, like, fighting each other? I don't know, we'll have to...
I feel like there were not fighters in in Flash Gordon. Well, maybe in a sense they had the
movie Flash Gordon had the Hawkmen. Right? Yeah, right. The Hawkmen attacking like the ship is similar, but it's not the same thing. Definitely not the same thing. Yeah. I mean, 100% not the same thing. Okay. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's like ship-to-ship combat in space. Who tried to fucking film that first? I don't know. Be interesting to find that out. Anyway, we don't know, ladies and gentlemen, so someone fucking step up and fucking slap us around and put us in our place. Tell us. We don't know. So, okay. So I thought about it, too, about like what do I dig when people do it, what I feel is quote-unquote correctly or elevating it. And the thing for me, and this probably is no surprise, for people particularly who know me, it's the movement, right? If you get the movement right, like on screen, that just gets my juices flowing. And particularly it's movement, counter movement. Now I'm using my hands for those in podcast land. So my right hand is moving forward, which for me is either the ship or the camera. And then there's another, and I'm using my left hand to go just right above that, either the camera or the ship. And it's always that counter movement that as things fly by me, really make me feel like I'm in the middle of a space battle. But it still has enough, it's not shaky camera bullshit. I still know where we are, and whether that's from a cockpit point of view, you know, inside the cockpit, that's the one moving forward, or from an external point of view, just the movement, counter movement across a screen, a two-dimensional screen, gets me super excited. I don't know why, but it just is beautiful. It just is a real cinematic moment, and it's one of those things that I honestly don't think you can get from anything else. You can't do it in theater. You can write about it in a book, but can write about it in a book, but it's still not quite the same. That movement is really key for me. I don't know. I find it fantastic. The other thing that works for me is the swarm, and I think we'll get in more specifically into this in the ones that I think are really groovy. If there's like a giant swarm of fighters, right, and you're in the middle of that swarm, and again, its movement is like they're all flying past the camera. Again, it just makes me feel like I'm flying. It really puts me in a nice moment. So there's always sort of the swarm element always tends to work for me. And then music, man. Like people, if you hit the music right. You got to hit the music right, and it's just.
I think we argue you have to.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. I don't know. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know.
You can have a quiet space battle.
Yeah, I'd have to. You know, I don't know. I have a thought about that. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But so those are the three things that tend to get my juices flowing in a good space battle: the movement, counter movement, swarm, and music. I don't know.
I totally agree that it's a uniquely cinematic thing because, it's just the awe of flying machines that fly. You know, it's just uniquely well captured in films. It's hard to get that kind of, visceral thrill from other things, unless you're actually obviously watching an actual airplane fly or in one. But I thought we could talk about like how that language has changed over time with technology.
For sure.
Because, certainly, let's, Star Wars not the first, but let's just say it's a big point. It's like...
it's a technological leap forward, for sure.
A big moment, and they, they're using models, practical effects, wonderfully built models, and they're doing a lot of following them across.
Well, that's the first. Those are the motion controlled cameras also doing a lot of that work, right? It's a computer. It's one of the first computer controlled cameras that's allowing them to do that, right, at a very specific speed, and then they can ramp it up or slow it down as they want, right?
And as hugely elevated as that was for the time, over time, now fast forward, now we've got, the camera moves have become a lot more complicated.
Yes.
Jumping in on, and of course they couldn't jump in and see the pilot and then pull back real quick.
Right,
exactly. The pilot was an action figure.
Right, yes.
So there's a whole lot more like absorbing you in the POV of it, and then like the camera can shoot around in impossible ways because whatever they're computer things and not model things.
Right.
So, and you could argue for a long time over whether that's made the language better or worse, but it's definitely happened.
Yeah.
Because now, cut to, Force Awakens, now they're really grooving on that angled shot where we see the pilot in the foreground.
Right.
And, we're supposed to be with the pilot more. They just really could not do that the same way.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is because
maybe
we are skipping one thing, which is
yes.
like for me, to be honest with you, I don't care how good Star Wars, and I'll talk about Battlestar Galactica, the reboot and the old one later. Robotech still has the best space battles, right? And it's
for sure.
One of the things that I think Robotech uniquely takes advantage of, and maybe this is just my limited anime sucking down of pre 1983 anime, is that it takes advantage of like the anime crazy moving camera stuff, like the super dynamic camera, and then puts it inside the dogfighting, which creates this incredibly hyper kinetic experience. And then they highlight it with like fucking wacky curving missile shit. And if you people don't know what I'm talking about, one of the things that, and I get goosebumps still even thinking about it, is just every time some mecha opens up its shoulder pads and like those fucking red tipped missiles go, just like a swarm of missiles go out, and they're all going in. And they literally all, again, you guys, sorry if I don't have a visual, my hands and my fingers are all intertwining in there, and they each have like a puff of smoke trail, and so you can follow the movement, and then the camera is doing this crazy pullback motion following this insane group of missiles that then intersect with flying machines that are coming from both sides of the frame, and it makes me want to stand up and shout. I don't know why. This is the kind of shit that makes me want to dance. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And for me, there's no better than, and obviously for the version of Robotech I'm talking about right now is the Macross version of Robotech, particularly, where when I was a kid, that just got me up like nothing ever else did. I think there were some Italian. My mother's. Hold on, guys. It's a Morrison story. I know. I promise it'll make sense in the end. My mother's side is Italian, right? And there were like Italian dudes in my family that would talk about Rocky like a religious experience. Like it was like watching Rocky made them get up and like feel their dudely Italian dudeness, right? Like it just clearly excited them, right? They couldn't talk about it in any kind of intelligent manner, unfortunately. But that was the thing, and Robotech did that for me. And part of it was that movement, the movement of the space battles and the movement of those fucking missiles and the planes, and that super hyperkinetic anime camera lexicon, allowing the camera to do these crazy sweeps and moves, all in what we would consider quote unquote one take without the edits, and letting the characters create these lines across the screen, which also comes from the manga, right? Which also really comes from the manga stuff, and again, it's just uniquely anime, it's uniquely animation, and it's uniquely television or film, whatever. I literally spent my entire fight choreography career attempting to recreate one frame of Robotech animation. Like, that was always my goal, was like, if I could create this sense of movement in this space that rivaled a Robotech frame, I figured that was me doing good.
Yeah. I hear that. Yeah. It's like a dance. It's Rocky for certain people, but it's cooler because it's not just like punching a guy all the time.
Do you have a favorite particular anime that does a good space battle, or?
Funny you ask. Well, I was going to add on to the Robotech point because and this is a more modern example, and not because one of my favorites is Macross Frontier.
Okay.
Which is, Macross did a lot of they did various reboots and sequels, and I think Macross Frontier was the most recent one.
Oh, okay.
And you really gotta check that one out, man, because it's just like everything you just said, and then they did it again better, but modern.
Wow. Okay.
They did it post Battlestar Galactica sensibility, which was interesting. They went back and glommed a few things together, and it's just bigger, huger, dancier, more colors, more missiles, and essentially the same design aesthetic, but ramped up. And of course, they're still transforming into humanoids and transforming back again. Nice. Anyway, just Macross Frontier is a great series, and also has the most fabulous space battles ever.
Holy shit.
Episode
Okay,
7, and then the last one's in 24, 25. And when you're watching it, you will notice that, like, oh, it's kind of like those old Macross fights, except they got a little Battlestar Galactica with they pay a little bit more attention to the physics and the like dropping in and out of zero G kind of moves, which
cool.
became sort of more, in fashion around the Battlestar Galactica, and having that more like sort of real, like in the jet pilot's head kind of perspective.
Cool.
So they just added that awesomeness to an already pretty awesome thing. And,
nice. Oh my god. Yeah.
And again, music.
Yeah, I mean, then that's the other thing that, like, Robotech, like, oh my god. Even I was a metalhead when this fucking show was on, and I hated Min-May's music, but it didn't matter because it was used so goddamn well in these. Because this is the other thing, right? So I talked about the Robotech movement being brilliant. I'm going to talk about Robotech a lot, guys. I talked about sort of the anime camera, the crazy missile movement. But the thing that really puts it all over the top is the emotional intercutting and almost like non-linear editing that sometimes happens in these goddamn animated space battles, where they'll just cut to Min-May singing a poignant lyric that sometimes maybe is a little too on the nose, but then cut back to like Lisa longingly looking at Rick through a fucking Viz panel, and Rick fucking getting the shit blown out of him and all his armor falling off or whatever, and it fucking works. It's just like it hits every moment. And I was just rewatching the last giant space battle in Macross, where Rick is fighting and Min-May singing, and the weird cousin comes out, and they have a smooch to freak out the the Zentradi. But it's so intercut so well, and watching Rick having to watch that while he's in the middle of his weird, wacky space battle just gives things such an emotional heft. And it's a character beat, They know Robotech knew, no matter what you say, Macross knows the fuck how to like put an emotional beat in every moment, so that yes, the space battles are cool, but the plot is advancing not only along the lines of the space battle advancing, but these characters are still in their lives while they're flying around doing shit. And that's, I mean, you can't get better than that. You can't get better storytelling than that. You can't get better filmmaking than that. Like, it's amazeballs. And I definitely blame Robotech for ruining me for most American cartoons and for most American movies, right? For like just most American storytelling that doesn't have an interest in doing that all the time, that has more of an interest in just dropping you in the middle of the fight, shaking the camera around, and trying to quote unquote make you feel like you're in the middle of the fight. Like, none of that worked for me, like, ever after I saw Macross, man. Yeah. Because I needed it to have an emotional weight.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I mean, that's so absolutely true, and shouldn't get obscured. Like, we're that's what makes it matter. I mean, like, we could, as counterexample, we could talk about some sort of large battle scenes that don't really land, even though, like, in those fucking Transformers Michael Bay movies, they have almost the same volume of stuff happening. Yeah. Right? In theory, they could have the same volume of cool stuff swirling around, but without the emotional perspective, it's just violence. Yeah, and there's some space battles in the Star Wars episodes 1 through 3, which obviously had the same volume of cool shit, but lacked the emotional anchor point that you could care what was happening.
Right, and that's the other good thing about the Battle of Yavin. Like, the trench run, one of the main reasons the trench run works is because it's a character beat for Luke to believe in the Force, right? To give over to the Force. Yes. And the genius of having Obi-Wan be able to talk to him through that, right, is what makes that work. And a lot of people try to rely on fight scenes to be like, okay, this is where that character grows up, but it usually doesn't land because it doesn't work. It hasn't been set up properly, or the fight is just noise, and then they structure every stupid fight where, the person we want to win is getting his ass absolutely destroyed for the first 2 minutes of the fight, and then they're down and they bleed and they wipe their mouth, or they have a shitty flashback to their dead wife, and they stand up and the music swells, and then all of a sudden they beat the living shit out of the other guy for the next 3 minutes and win, right? It's the worst structure of a fight you can have.
It's a bit false, yes.
It is false. It doesn't work. It's absolutely garbage storytelling. Because also no fight works like that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Very rarely does a fight go from one person over-dominating to the other person over-dominating, unless there's a scheduled break in it. With like in a boxing movie, it makes some sense because there's the Saved by the Bell is a real thing, not the goddamn TV show. Right, but otherwise in real life, if you're getting your ass dominated in a fight, ladies and gentlemen, your ass is dominated and you're fucking done. Okay?
It's going to keep happening.
So anyway, and you just... And again, Robotech gets those beats, and the Battle of Yavin gets those beats, and even the last Battle of Jedi at least has the tension of dropping the shield, and it's intercut with, again, is Luke gonna turn to the dark side and kill his dad, right?
Yeah.
There's emotional heft. There's a lot of emotional heft that works and lands and is paced properly.
And I think in Yavin, part of it is the underlying emotional thing, in addition to the Force and reconnecting with Obi thing, is there's this underlying idea of not letting down your friends.
Yes.
It's kind of that subtle thing that's happening through all of Star Wars, just like, I gotta show up because this is serious, and
that's a great point.
Leia seems really worried about this. We should get this done. And where the fuck is Han? Oh, look, there's Han!
Yes.
Han's helping. Oh my god, this is a worthwhile production that we're gonna blow up this Death Star.
Nice. No, that's an excellent point too. Yeah, right. No, that's an excellent point. Yeah, that's that's the reason Han returning has such heft, and that and it earns the fucking ship coming out of it's not sun, but whatever the little. I know it's subtle, but I don't know. It's not subtle, but the lens flare over the fucking.
Sort of coming out of a sun.
He's coming out of the sun. There's a lens flare for no reason because there's no sun around. But whatever. There's that lens flare that they put in on top of the Millennium Falcon that makes it so goddamn heroic and it makes it so goddamn poignant, and it adds another level, right? Again, of visual candy. Yeah. Again, the camera's pretty static, and the Millennium Falcon is just diving towards camera, but with the lens flare over the back of it. It just becomes this massively iconic shot. Like, it wouldn't be half as good without that shitty little lens flare. And it's so badass.
Yeah. And again, this is all iconography, This is this is the kind of stuff that makes people go, oh, well, geeks are geeks and geeks are weird. But it's coming from something, just like in superheroes, the iconography of, an angel shooting out of the sun when you need one most.
Right.
These things, these images are potent and manipulatable. Mm-hmm. And that's, I like to think that's what we're talking about. It's not, it's, it's something that strikes you on a deep level when the images are presented in a, thought out way.
Yeah, and have the emotional weight that we're talking about. I think you can have as many. I mean, it's also why I get pissed off at J.J. Abrams, because that's what lens flare is for, right? It's like, early Abrams, like the overuse of it is it's kind of cool, and it's nice that he made it his visual style, but it completely lessens the impact when you want to use it as something that's a signal, right? That is an emotional signal. It loses all. It just now becomes cool for cool's sake, and it kind of cheapens the effect. But whatever. Who am I to fucking argue with $1 billion dude?
Well, no, it's when everything is glowy, nothing is interesting.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Well, wait, while we're here, can we just talk about the two battles of the most recent Star Wars movies?
In the most recent Star Wars movies. Okay, so we're jumping over to Rogue One. Is that what you mean?
Force Awakens and Rogue One. Because I just have a little beef with each of them, and I just as compare and contrast. Like, Force Awakens was pretty into it the way they closed it up, but again, while we're on
you're gonna have to remind me. Actually, I'm blanking.
Force Awakens. Sorry, they blend together. What? The Force Awakens, they're attacking Star Killer base. We're just talking about the space battle aspect. Okay?
Right. Oh, the goddamn the planet. Right.
They attack Star Killer base, and in Rogue One, at the end, they attack the other base that they got to go through the hole.
Yes.
They got to go through the hole.
Always. Yes.
Force Awakens almost cool, but they really didn't set up the directionality of the fight very well, because they this vaguely idea we got to keep bombing this big thing. And when Dude, you know what I'm saying? When Dude gets in there, he just shoots random things. guns.
Yeah, and we don't know what the hell he's shooting. I mean, don't get me started about that whole plot line is a nightmare for me. Like it's just dropped in out of nowhere, and it's just like we got to blow up another big circle. We got to blow up another big sphere for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Except this time we have to drop bombs on it, and that's sort of what makes it different, I guess. No, I don't. Like I said, I have no recollection of that fight. I remember dropping bombs. I have no recollection. I really honestly don't. I wiped it out. I don't know. I remember the Rogue One beach fight a little bit better, but that's not a space battle, but I guess it's sort of like a cool, weird little dog-fighty X-Wings versus AT-ATs.
There's some very important aerial combat.
Oh, that's right. No, that's right, because they have a shield again. They have to drop the shield. They have to do the shield, right?
And again, they set up the emotional beats of that a lot better, and just like they're really coming to the rescue. Because, the rogues go off and do their completely dangerous, non-advised thing.
Right.
And then basically all the rebel ships show up and
pound the shield.
We're gonna help, and we have to get through this fucking little shield hole, which gives it a great direction out. It's a nice iconographic thing again.
Right.
More so than bombing a circle. There's like a glowy shield thing. We got to get through it. There's a certain aperture we can get through.
Right. Yeah, no, it's and again, at least the emotional weight to me is better because there's this weird ground mission that's going on that needs some kind of support. They need to like figure out if they're gonna get them off of there or not, and they don't get it. I mean, what's cool is, again, spoilers for Rogue One, they don't fucking succeed for once, which is nice.
Sure.
I mean, they succeed in doing the thing, but they don't succeed in rescuing these getting these people, whatever. They don't succeed in getting the people off the planet. Which is cool, but and I remember still not being terribly impressed with the. I don't think the Star Wars franchise is advancing too much in terms of the aerial combat, the space combat. Like they haven't developed anything new in their lexicon, and that's what bores me about them a little bit. Like you said, it sounds like Macross has made these advancements in the way they shoot their stuff, which is cool. And with Star Wars, it's like what they seem to think is cool is like, oh, it's a slightly different tweak on this theme, and it just hasn't. It hasn't lately made me excited terribly much. I mean, the Millennium Falcon TIE Fighter chase on Jakku was pretty cool.
That was nice.
That was nicely done.
A lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. I also like the idea, these people are learning how to fly that ship in particular. They're learning how to fire. There's some cool weight to that, and I also believe that there's only 3 ships chasing them for whatever reason because it's fucking Jakku, nobody's there. Right. So that makes some sense to me. Whatever, you can say what you want about the stupid ending, flip the ship over and shoot things, whatever, fine. But it had some visual coolness to it. But once it got to the big, like I said, once it got to the big space battle, it's a big blank in my head. Like I don't remember shit. I don't remember anything from it.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a great one, except to say that they did introduce the more alien X-Wing pilots and Jessica Pava, fan favorite, half Asian Blue 3. Wait, that was cool, but in itself, not an elevating space battle moment.
Well, and they also they finally had a new Star Wars at least trope with the ramming the Death Star, Star Destroyer, and moving it. Right, there was a new tactic that we hadn't seen in a Star Wars space battle. That was the only new thing.
Strategy.
I kind of hated that it was so brief and it kind of came out of nowhere. I kind of dug it, and they also filmed the crew of that ship so heroically that I thought I was supposed to know who they were. So it actually took me out of the movie because I'm like, oh, was there a scene with this guy before? Because I don't know. Because like when he gives
which one are you talking about?
The Hammerhead ship, the ramming ship. Yeah, go back and watch it, and you'll see the whole movie stops to go inside the ramming ship, and like the captain is in this really heroic shot, and then like behind him is his whole crew, and they all hold on. I don't know. It was very distracting for me for some strange reason. I could have just had the ship ram the thing and would have been okay, but we had to all of a sudden be with those characters, and I thought it was a weird choice. I feel like that guy was important in a different cut that got cut out or something.
Possibly. Very possibly.
That's what it felt like.
I think that's answered a lot of questions about Rogue One.
Yeah, it's all got cut
off. Sure, but...
Okay, I want to stop talking about Star Wars. I want to get to the other. I want to get to some other things. Just because Star Wars, we can talk about Star Wars all damn day. So let us. We already brought it up, so I want to talk about Battlestar Galactica. So I want to go in chronological order, because also I have to talk about Star Wars again anyway. Because the original Battlestar Galactica, for people that don't know, was literally just Lucas going to ILM and going, go make a TV show, and let's, with our current technology, and let's just do it, right? And Lucas then stepped out and basically gave the technology, I think, to CBS or ABC or whoever came to Lucas and was like, so ILM had just become an established thing, right? And so they wanted to make, one of the networks wanted to make a television property basically based around Star Wars technology, and that's literally where Battlestar Galactica comes from. If you guys don't know that, so
I didn't.
Which is what a lot of people accuse sort of the writing of being a bit thin, because really the emphasis was just all the money was poured into the effects. And I went back today and I looked at some of the space battles, and they feel exactly like Star Wars. Like they feel so exactly like Star Wars to the point where ships fly in 3 with one ship chasing them constantly. You're constantly next to the pilot, either the Cylons or the inside. Sorry, the Cylons are filmed just like the TIE fighter pilots are filmed inside inside their Raiders. Yeah. There's always what I call the tracer shot, where like there's a ship chasing another ship, and then it fires and goes choo 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 choo. It misses like 3 times and then tracks up on the ship, and then the ship explodes, hits.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Super duper gun. Yeah.
Yeah, gunshot. It's so straight out of fucking the first Millennium Falcon fight in episode 4.
Yeah.
To the point where it's literally just sort of it's the same exact filming techniques. And you understand why, because it's the technology. They're taking advantage of some of the same technology, and it's the same people doing it. That being said, they look pretty badass for fucking TV in 1982 or whatever the fuck it was, 81, 82. Mm-hmm. It looks pretty awesome. And I forgot how shiny the original Cylons were. They were always like gleaming. Yeah. There was like 9 gleams coming off of every Cylon. So shiny. But the fight sequences are pretty awesome, and the Viper launching sequence to this day is super iconic.
Totally.
Shooting down that fucking tube is like again. It's the movement, right? They simulate movement beautifully with that, and you're just like ready to go. Anyway, do you catapult? Do you have any thoughts on the original Battlestar stuff?
Well, thanks for giving me a background. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
All that, and basically agree. And yeah, I was interested in the original Battlestar. I guess I'd say that to me that is triumph of design again.
Yes.
If to compare it to the current Battlestar, the writing in the old Battlestar is pretty thin.
Yep.
Why would we remake that series? Well, because someone designed the shit out of those fighters.
Yeah, man.
Iconically, again. Of course, stealing many notes from Star Wars, but you get it. You've got these little arrow-shaped hero ships.
Yep.
And these somehow very spooky clamshell alien silent ships, and you just know what's happening. You're just absorbed in that interplay. And no, all the other shit in the show, you didn't really need to reboot that. Come on, let's be real. What was the story? Like, it wasn't like this great text that had to be rebooted.
Sure.
The fucking ships battling each other in the space was what had to be rebooted, right? And then so they went back and with modern powers actually wrote a great story for Battlestar.
Yes.
And that's the thing they did. So that's what I think. And also I think they really took, at some point the guy says I was really trying to get it to be an aircraft carrier story in space, and I do stand by they went for a different camera concept in like the again, I don't know really about space physics, but like in space, just like how you can flip around and just be completely. There's
You're talking about the new battle. You're talking about the new Battlestar now.
The new Battlestar,
yeah.
Different things from the physics of the fighters.
No, that's what. No, and that's the other thing is like one of the things that I love about my science fiction, particularly my space science fiction, is if they try to simulate space combat a little bit, which is the fact that there's no up, there's no down in space, there's no whatever, and you've got to deal with that. And the new Battlestar Galactica does that nicely. They don't make it a hallmark of their shit, but they do at least address it quite frequently. At least the idea that ships flip around and can do all this crazy cool, 3-dimensional no G stuff. And I think they upped their design game, but at the same time really kept the heart and soul of the Viper. They kept the heart and soul of the Raiders, and it's awesome. And they also, and they upped a little bit of the realism, right? That not every again, I was rewatching a few battle sequences today. Not every ship automatically explodes in Battlestar Galactica, which is kind of great. Like, it's like they get shot and they can be repaired, and things can be repaired, and even the bad guys don't always explode all the time, and they can hang around and still do damage, and like, and then the other thing that the new Battlestar Galactica particularly does well, that I think Macross does a bit as well, which are these giant, enormous ship-to-ship combat stuff, like the batteries of guns. You know, like you said, someone trying to do an actual aircraft carrier combat TV show, which is part of that is the gun batteries, right, on those ships, and how that would work. How does a giant Battlestar fight a giant Cylon? No, I'm forgetting the name of the star. They have
Base Star.
Base Star. That always confused me. Battlestar and Base Star. They could have picked something that didn't begin with a B.
Not their finest naming of enemy ship there, but whatever.
But you know, that kind of combat was very consistent and very cool, and also the same thing. Like, things didn't just automatically explode all the time. Like, shit could get injured and limp off and get reconstructed. So, yeah, and then again, they also upped their game in terms of the way they filmed it, right? It's what I call the Firefly quick zoom, where, like, you're in space, and, like, what's nice is you can go from, like, a POV shot of an individual, and then all of a sudden you're in a story shot where they zoom all the way past the planet, and then you see an oncoming ship or whatever. And the camera drifts a little bit. And it just, that kind of stuff was... And again, I don't know if that was first done in Firefly or if it was done in Battlestar Galactica first. I'd have to look and see which one came out when. But that kind of stuff works brilliantly for me. Again, it preserves a certain kind of motion, a certain kind of movement. And then particularly when the zoom ends, they put that little drift at the end of it. And it just feels very, I don't know, it feels very real. It feels like you're in space constantly. And I'm about to give a shout out to your boy, because I actually watched goddamn Star Trek Beyond today, just for you, Dom.
All right.
I watched Star Trek Beyond just for you.
Star Trek Beyond.
And Justin Lin, god damn it, I didn't realize, he doesn't just do this in the space battles. He does this for this whole movie. He floats and twists almost every shot in that movie. Did you realize this?
There's a lot of it, yeah.
He does a lot. And what's crazy was, originally I was like, oh, this is a gimmick. And then I was like, no, I fucking love it. It's fantastic for a space movie, because you're unmoored and you're always just drifting, and it totally fucking works.
Yeah, it's a subtle visual motif that echoes where the environment is.
Right.
Filmmaking. That's
and then
awesome.
And then it's bad.
You'd always be doing that, really, if you were in space. It'd be happening all the time.
It would be happening, and then when he does it, and then when he gets to exaggerate his motif in the fight sequences, it's really awesome. And to be honest with you, this is so not true, ladies and gentlemen. It's just my brain working today. I swear to God, he took it from Robotech. Like, I feel like, because Robotech does this a lot of the fucking, he has these sort of drifty, twisty things that are a lot in a lot of the Robotech space battle stuff. The way the camera drifts and then all of a sudden does these wacky spirals to compensate for the movement of the Veritex or whatever. Anyway, so I saw it, but I do have some beef, brother. I do not like his swarm combat. I thought, and again, it was a brilliant choice of music. Right? It was a brilliant choice of music, but what the fuck? They play music and they just explode? I thought the whole point was...
the swarm.
I thought they were supposed to just disrupt. Is what's supposed to happen that they all disrupted and they ran into each other and exploded? Why did the robots explode when they played the music?
Look, there's a very practical, counterpoint to the argument you just raised, but it's sadly in the world of Earth and not in the world of Star Trek.
That's fine.
Do you want me to go? Please. Okay, so I had the good fortune to be able to actually talk to Justin, the director, about this a little bit, because I was so curious, and they just dispel it. It's not explicitly supposed to be Robotech connection. That was just me stretching and connect. It wasn't explicitly supposed to be that, although of course he acknowledged.
He's talking, ladies and gentlemen. Dom has put forth the idea that this was a mid-man attack because it was music used to disrupt the swarm coming at you in an earlier podcast. That's what he's referencing. Okay, continue, Dom.
Yes, but what Justin says that basically they just wrote themselves into a really difficult situation for the Enterprise crew, and They just needed a big third act battle to happen, and they couldn't quite build another thing. They couldn't quite build another ship, for some budgetary or practical reason. They had to come up with something, and that's kind of what they came up with. And as far as the swarm, yeah, okay. So for one thing, it would
okay.
So one thing, large scale movies run into budgetary considerations too, where they have to adapt an interesting solution. And so for me, that ended up being very exciting for the music aspect. Now, as far as the swarm battle thing, yeah, but that's probably part of folded into that problem. Maybe they had a more intricate idea, or they just had to move through that swarm battle.
I was just confused because from what I remember when they were talking about, they're like, okay, we're going to broadcast on this radio frequency, and it's going to quote unquote disrupt. Because all of these are drones, ladies and gentlemen. They even call them bees at one point, right? And there's fucking a bazillion of them. And they say they're going to disrupt them, but then the ship flies right at the swarm playing Beastie Boys Sabotage, and it's awesome. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
The scene ruins that, and I love scenes that do this. There are certain scenes that can take a piece of music and then ruin that music forever for you. You will never hear that song without thinking of that scene, right?
Yeah,
and we can all talk about a couple of those. And it ruins Sabotage for you, which is great. So it's awesome.
Besides that great Star Trek battle.
It just doesn't, because I just am trying to clarify, because they literally fly at the swarm, blasting the music, and then basically the swarm just explodes as they fly through them. But I don't understand why they're exploding.
Chris, what it is? This is what it is. No, I think you're right. I just thought about this right now. I'm just not going to talk about this. No, I think what is happening is
they're flying into each other.
No, the swarm is effective because their communication system enables them to fly at such close proximity en masse.
Yes.
If you disrupt that communication protocol at all, they're all running into each other.
They're running into each other.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, fine. I'll buy that. But the film doesn't go out of its way to actually show us that's what's happening.
It does not.
It just looks like they're flying at them, and the Beastie Boys make these robots explode.
Right. Well, but you see, that's like a poetic license I would give them at that point. I'd just be like, I guess, because I'm so hooked in. I'm just like, yeah, the Beastie Boys just make the robots explode.
Sure.
And it's all worth it for that kind of surfer on the wave shot.
Oh yeah.
Suddenly the orientation returns and we're like, we're a dude on a really cool
explodey wave.
Starfleet boogie board attacking a wave of little insect aliens. And it's like, it all makes sense. And again, I know plenty of people just roll their eyes who lost it, like, the minute the Beastie Boys thing came on. But some of us were like, oh, now you can do anything you want.
Anything you want to me. I'm definitely of two minds about this, ladies and gentlemen, because usually this is a moment where I would roll my eyes and hate this moment. But the movement, again, this is how much I'm addicted to movement. The movement of it and the musicality, the music of it, and the idea of it. I'm in. I was in. I was sold. I was bought. I bought it. Where usually that would do nothing but piss me off because, particularly as a story beat, like I just insist my story beats be a little clearer than them spending a bunch of gum flapping time saying this is going to disrupt, and then all of a sudden visually it actually just equals them making them explode with music. But
I can only dream that there's an extended version of that sequence where these beats are
see them like
spelled out a little bit more.
A little bit more, maybe. I don't know. But whatever. It's filmed beautifully. I'll go on record. I am not a huge reboot of the Star Trek sequence fan. The original Star Trek movies. I don't think I realized until today how important they were for me growing up. Like it was something I shared with my dad, and like when they dedicate it to Leonard Nimoy and Zachary Quinto gets told Spock is dead, and then they show the fucking bridge shot from I guess it's is it Wrath of Khan when they're all in the red? No, it's not Wrath of Khan. It's later. It's like episode whatever. I got super teary and was like, oh right, this used to really matter to me. And the reboot, Star Trek 1, I mean, Into Darkness is an absolute pile of garbage. And the first movie is not my favorite either for a variety of reasons. But this one got me, and again, maybe I'm definitely a Simon Pegg apologist, but like I don't know, they use the crew better for me in this one. It has a much more I don't know, Star Trek-y feel to me. Although I don't know why the Star Trek movies insist on living without the Enterprise. Every second movie, they have to destroy the Enterprise.
Yeah, okay.
It's always a little weird, but that's fine.
They do destroy the Enterprise all the time.
All the time.
You're right.
It's very bizarre to me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I ended up enjoying it. I mean, I think Idris Elba's character is just stupid and lame, but I don't care. Fine, I'll take a decent. At least I'll take a halfway decent Star Trek movie. Oh my god, we're so off topic. All right, so
no, we are. We're
that's
still
not too off topic.
Space battles.
Okay, we are talking about space battles.
Again, that was a different take. That was
a different.
We watched Robotech, so we know, but
right.
that angle hasn't happened in space battles in American lexicon before, so Absolutely. It's worth saying. I'm a big champion of it. Some people, it's ahead of their time. They'll get it when the fifth time the Beastie Boys space battle scene happens.
So in your talk with Justin Lin, he gave no indication that was technically a Min-May attack. He made no. He didn't even wink at you or anything. He wasn't like wink wink. No.
It was a zeitgeist thing. It was just like
it just happened.
I said, well, it was a stretch, and I enjoyed making that stretch for my fan reasons. But what's the real thing? And it's like, well, we were trying to solve this problem, not exactly that problem. But
all right. I'll take
it. It would have been a stretch for them to get to the pop singer female Shantu's kind of. I don't know. I don't even go there. But that's something that can happen.
Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. So here's my thought. I want to give a couple of shout outs to some also rans, just for historical sake, and also maybe there are a couple of movies that you guys aren't as aware of. Do you remember a little Roger Corman film called Battle Beyond the Stars, my brother?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. For those that don't know, 1984,
good design in that movie.
1984, directed by Roger Corman. But are you ready for this? Written by motherfucking John Sayles, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who John Sayles is,
wow,
go do some research. And James Cameron fucking did some of the early design work on it as well. And ready for this? It's this composer James Horner. It's his second movie.
Really? I didn't know this.
I knew none of this. Wow. Okay, and now here's the next thing. It's just a straight up remake of The Seven Samurai, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the first thing anybody says, it's actually just a straight up remake of The Magnificent Seven, because Robert Vaughn, who is in The Magnificent Seven, is also in Battle Beyond the Stars, believe it or
Beautiful.
not. Okay. But all of these are a remake of Akira Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai, where it's just there's a poor dirt farming community that hires a gunslinger or a samurai or a space pilot with a little bit of heart and soul to then go out and collect 6 other defenders who also have a little bit of heart, and to all basically die and give their life to save this lost cause. Awesome little film, and man, there's some pretty kick-ass effects in it. It's surprising. But again, the James Cameron thing is what might tip it over for some people. Literally, the design of the main ship, I still think, looks like some kind of strange sexual toy, but that's beside the point. It's a little plasticky and shiny for me, but the movement, again, is kind of okay. And it's a nice try. It's a nice effort, especially considering I think it was made for less than $2 million or something.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. Do you remember anything? Do you have anything to say about Battle Beyond the Stars?
Oh, I remember that I wanted to see it really bad when it was playing at UC Theater sometime.
Yeah.
Because it just looked like it was going to hit all my buttons, and obviously it would have. Now that you said all those names, now I really want to.
You got to check it out, man. It's actually not bad. George Papard is it. I mean, the other thing is the cast is amazing.
Love that guy.
Fucking George Papard. Awesome. Robert Vaughn. The main guy is John Boy from I can never remember his goddamn name. Not Michael York. The other one. John Boy from
West Side Story.
Not West Side Story. No, John Boy from not the Apple Dumpling Gang. That fucking TV show. Not Green Acres. Oh, fuck.
God, Chris,
I'm blanking. Anyway, doesn't matter.
I'm dying here. I don't know.
All right, don't worry about it. Anyway, the lead character is actually a dude you'd recognize. It's got a very good cast. Enjoy it. The next and last shout out I want to give, honorable mention, is the good old Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter.
Yes.
Remember this thing? So the other crazy thing about this movie, which is 1983, It is one of the first CGI films of all time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I remember that.
It's all the space battles are animated, ladies and gentlemen. Now, again, today it looks...
That was wacky and weird at the time.
It was super wacky and weird at the time, and it looks wacky and weird now because obviously with the real filming quality, and then you get this weird animated quality with the space battles, but it's pretty fucking impressive for 1983. And dig this, there were 300 CGI shots, and they made 27 minutes of that film on a Cray supercomputer in 1983, and the film was released in 1984. So it's an impressive technical achievement. Wow. Again, the story is much worse than Battle Beyond the Stars. I think it's super thin, and it's not terribly well acted. But
yeah,
I always think it's a better movie than I remember, and I always end up getting pretty goddamn bored by it. But
there's too much getting to the actual start.
Yeah, and stuff like that, and the lead actor is no good.
It's stuff we've seen at Star Wars. Yeah, we don't really follow his whole pain.
It has a kind of a cool the big super attack sequence is the Death Blossom, which is pretty cool looking, and of course it hits all the buttons. Like, yes, you wish when we were in 1983 at the arcades we would all get shipped off to Galaga or Phoenix. Does anybody remember playing Phoenix or Defender?
Or just at least that skill set would be worth something. the pressing of the buttons just better than
moving the
joystick.
The Galaxy. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good skill I'm learning.
That's right. And you're wasting all your quarters. But the battle sequences are okay. They're not bad. And again, considering that it's 1980, that they're making that sequence in 83. The film comes out in 84. They're making those sequences in 1983 with the CGI shots. It came after Tron. And it falls, and Young Sherlock Holmes falls in between, which has got what I consider the best first CGI shot ever. If you remember Young Sherlock Holmes, speaking of Sherlock Holmes, there's a sequence where a drugged priest hallucinates a stained glass knight comes out of the window and comes down and kills him with a sword, and it's
okay.
And it has this roundy to it, which means the camera goes around the action. And it's also cool because it's a stained glass knight, and so he looks different on the backside than he does the front. It's a great CGI shot. Sorry, that totally off topic of space battles, but anyway, we're in the history of CGI, so go check out Young Sherlock Holmes for that shot. Anything you got for shout-outs, brother? Like honorable mentions space battle-wise?
Now that you talked about it so much, I just want to go back and watch the Battlestar Galactica revision again.
It's pretty.
It's been a while.
It's been a while for me
too. How many hours of a commitment would that be?
That's a lot, dude. There's 4 seasons. The only good news is that season 2 happened during the writers' strike, so there's only half a season for season 2. At least from what I remember.
It's a good first world problem. I do actually want to go watch it again because that was some good shit.
There's some good stuff
in there, man. Get to think about that.
Yeah, that looks good. All right, man.
Yeah.
I think that brings us to a close, ladies and gentlemen, on Earl Space Battles. I mean, I got no final thoughts outside of if you haven't watched Robotech, get off your ass and watch it. I have a job to do. I've got to go watch Macross Frontier. Dom's got to go see Battle Beyond the Stars. So
happily,
got to find that Battle Beyond the Stars, brother. It's actually on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube, I think. Not that I'm advocating to watch movies on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, but sometimes. Battle Beyond the Stars, let's be honest, that's going to be tough to find.
Case by case.
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis for sure. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, big news. Well, not really. It's not big news at all, but it's big news for me. Next week, we're tackling the Wolverine. That's right. Dom and I are going to chop up a little Logan action, a little Wolverine action, Old Man Logan action, Death of Wolverine, Days of Future Past, Wolverine, the series, whatever. We'll be talking about Wolverine, one of my childhood cornerstones, yet another one, in honor of the fact that Logan will be dropping, at least in Belgium, next week. I don't know. Is it coming out next week as well?
I believe in America, too, like next weekend.
Because I guess fucking Hollywood is just insisting on starting the summer late pretty soon. Yeah. Summer for Hollywood will start in February, I guess, because Logan's dropping beginning of March. So I guess they're just, I don't know. There you go.
They needed to fit it in there somehow. It's going to be a big blockbuster movie kind of summer. And I totally respect them for it. And, this is one of those episodes you can watch and you can brush up on your Wolverine before going to see the movie and look cool, because of nerds like us. I'm just going to say it's a functional usage of our next topic.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to help. We're here to make you look good.
We want to. Yeah. there's going to be some stuff that you'll be happy it was contextualized. Even just from the trailer, I can look at it and go like,
yes,
yeah, maybe, yeah. There's some version of X-23 in it, except she's
for
like
sure.
an actual very small girl.
Yes, which is interesting. See how that goes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've done it again. You spent an hour with us. Thank you so much. Remember, if you love us, we love you. If you like us, we like you.
Love.
Please leave us a review on iTunes if you'd like. It helps people find us. And, you can be the first one to review us that isn't someone named Christopher and Dominic. We also have a Facebook page.
I want to throw a shout out when you're done.
Oh, we got a shout out.
Well, I just wanted to shout out real quick to
please
my friend Gar Lowe, who maybe you know Garrett Lowe. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Anyway, he emailed us about the Cartoon Voices show
excellent
the fill-in show that I did with Katie, and I just wanted to shout out to appreciate the issues you raised in your message. Please message us with all issues.
Excellent.
And please. We will, and I bet we'll take up those very important issues that you raise at the future time. So thanks, Gar.
Wait, we got an email? He sent an email directly?
Well,
to
I
you?
got a message. I mean, there are multiple different ways of
excellent
communicating with us.
Please,
but yeah,
yes.
I'll share it with you, and then we can bat around the topic again. Very briefly, I'll say yes. Our claims in that cartoon show were not all comprehensive because this is a very big topic.
It's a very big topic.
And yes, the claim that cartoons died in the mid-aughts was sort of hyperbolic. It was something, but if we were to revisit the topic, we might make the argument with a little bit more research that it was given 9/11 in the Bush years, there maybe was a sort of dark, harsh tone settled over all the cartoons that were coming out for a while, sort of nihilistic, more just shit has crazy and has no rules kind of tone, or not, and then we started getting these sort of family-oriented, hopeful messages again. Maybe,
could be. All right, topic for another
talk
time.
About it more later.
Talk about it more later. So yes, find us. Facebook, YouTube, iTunes. We're active. We're out there. We love you. We want to hear from you. And obviously, if you want to see our shining faces, we're on YouTube. If you just want to listen to us, we're on iTunes. Comment, like, subscribe. We love you. And we will see you guys next week. Ciao.
See you next time.
Bye.
I was a little bit stoned.